Hello and welcome to another Elixir Kitchen class. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very exciting class for you. And I am Jeremy Capone. I'm the wellness chef for Elixir Kitchen, and joining me, as always, Stephanie Gladwin.
Yeah, hello everybody. Yes, I'm the registered dietitian with the Cancer Rehab and Survivorship Program. So welcome. We have a great demo class for you today. We figured that in today's class we would focus on caregivers. So caregivers are the people who are caring for their loved ones, whether they're going through treatment, post-treatment, and it could be family, friends. And so it's very important for these caregivers to take care of themselves, right? So not only are the patients overwhelmed, but this could be kind of in some ways an exhausting task. And so, whether that's, driving people to their appointments or, cleaning up, but also in charge of food and cooking. And so it's very important to really, focus on easy, quick meals that tailor to the person that you're caring for, but making sure that you're, feeling good and taking care of yourself as well. So some of the big, kind of things that we're going to look at through our recipes today are using pre-prepared ingredients. So whether that's canned, frozen, pre-chopped, we're going to highlight some of those, really getting into that batch cooking, making sure that foods are balanced. So even though you might be caring for somebody else, and they might have some dietary restrictions or concerns, or, how can you, not to be in the kitchen twice type of thing, snacking throughout the day, keeping food smelling at a minimum, and always practicing food safety. So without further ado, we're going to start with the first recipe that's focusing on those specific ingredients that are coming from the pantry that are super, super easy, that don't require so much cooking skill, but rather something that is more of an assembly type of meal. So our first one is a lovely mixed bean salad.
Yes, and I know that might not sound super exciting, but I think it's just a great go-to recipe. You can have it as like a little side, but you can even like bump it up a little bit so that, and I'm sure Steph will talk about as well, it's more of a complete meal, right? So how do we make canned beans a little bit more exciting? Well, we want to focus on a really nice dressing. And even though, canned beans are super convenient, the flavor of them can sort of be on the dollar side sometimes. So what we want to do is hit them with a nice punch of acidity and some freshness. And we're going to do that with some tomato, a little bit of vinegar. We're going to make a nice little vinaigrette, and with some nice fresh herbs as well. And with a couple of those simple ingredients, we can really make not only an easy recipe, but a really tasty recipe as well. So the first thing I'm going to show you what to do is we're going to make a nice little vinaigrette. And for this, we're going to be using some fresh tomatoes. Tomatoes have a nice little bit of acidity. They have this really nice sort of umami and savoriness to them as well. And we think of just like kind of chopping them up and usually adding them to the salad as is, which you can absolutely do. But I'm going to show you a different way we can sort of handle this ingredient. And what we're going to do is make a really nice dressing with it using a box grater or a cheese grater. So I have a second camera here on my my cutting board, and I've already grated one tomato, and it's fairly easy. We're using just a regular box grater. What I'm going to do with that tomato is cut just or I can even cut it in half. But what I want to do is kind of get the exposed part of the tomato. The juice is dripping all over my laptop, which is fantastic. But we want to save that juice. What we want is all that flavor in that juice. So what I'm going to do is with the cut side on the grater, palm up, so we don't want to cut ourselves. we're just gonna gently press it into the grater, and we're creating almost like this really nice tomato puree. And this is a great technique, like we're gonna make a dressing with this, but this is a great technique where you can make a really nice fresh tomato sauce as well, especially when tomatoes are in season. This makes a super, super simple sauce for like a pasta, where you can just dress this up a little bit, heat it up like a few minutes, and then you have this really nice quick pasta in less than 5 minutes, which is great. And then the other half of the tomato, we're gonna do the same thing, cut side down, and just kind of run it through cheese grater. And so what we're left with, you can see here, I'll show you here, is just the skins of the tomatoes. So the skins are left behind, and we have this beautiful tomato pulp that is going to bring just a ton of flavor to an otherwise kind of boring, canned bean. You can see some of the lighter one there too. I did have a yellow tomato, so I mixed the two together. Obviously, you can just use regular red tomatoes. Any tomatoes would work here. The juicier, the better, because you're going to get just a lot more of that sort of tomato pulp in there. And this is going to provide just a really, really nice, rich, vibrant dressing for our salad. So
I'll just add here, when you're creating those balanced meals, you want to have color, and then getting some protein and some whole grains, right? Some fiber. So actually, beans, which we'll use in the next ingredient, have both that fiber, healthy carbohydrates. They're complex, so they're not spiking your blood sugar super, super high and dropping it. So it's kind of this nice leveled energy. And then you get that color from the red of the tomato, right? And that's increased in the lycopene, which is a phytonutrient that is really great for lots of different things. But really, all the different colors are a clue to those different phytonutrients that help protect your cells against any type of damage, such as cancer recurrence. So, again, when you're making those meals, whether it's a salad, whether it's a plate, whether it's a bowl, you really want to make sure, okay, I'm checking off my high fiber carbohydrates, I'm checking off my color and those lean proteins. So this is a really great tool to, make sure that you're getting all the necessary things.
Yeah, this is going to be a super colorful salad, which I'm very excited about. So we have our grated tomato, pretty simple. Now we can start adding some other flavors, and this is where you can sort of customize it. I love garlic. I love that punch of garlic. So I'm going to grate a clove or two in. This is optional, right? If you're not a big garlic fan, you don't have to add it. I do love using these graters, these rasps, just because it's a lot easier to mince it, to get a really nice fine mince. In a dressing, you don't want to be surprised with like a big chunk of garlic. So this makes it just super nice and fine. I'm going to add a little bit of red onion to there as well, which you can also grate the red onion so that it's really nice and fine, or chop it up, or even use like a food processor, right? Make it easy for yourself. So we'll use a little bit of red onion in there. That's going to provide, again, some really nice flavor. All right, and now we're going to add a nice punch of acidity. So the tomato does have already some acidity in there, so I don't need to add too much. But a little bit of like red wine vinegar or white wine vinegar is just going to help enhance the flavors of whatever else we put into it. Okay, so the acidity from vinegar, from citrus, acts like a flavor enhancer, where almost like salt, where whatever you add it to is just going to help to make it a little bit brighter, really help to punch that flavor. So we're going to add about a tablespoon of the red wine vinegar, and then I'm going to go with a few tablespoons of olive oil. This is the second little trick to, again, just to really liven up those canned beans, is give it a nice healthy fat, give it a nice like vibrant fat, like an olive oil. So I'm going about 3 tablespoons here, and that will, again, it'll just help to improve the overall sort of flavor and mouthfeel of the dish. All right, so here is pretty much our dressing, and I'll finish it with just a small pinch of salt. I don't need too much, just a little bit. That'll help with the tomato as well. And again, like this, we're gonna be dressing this bean salad, but this would be awesome to make like a nice potato salad or a pasta salad. You know, I'd cook off some like whole wheat penne, drain it out, toss it in this like fresh sauce, and it would be super delicious and very quick. I mean, that was like 5 minutes, not even, to make this dressing. And now is when we can add some beans. So the beans are completely up to you. We have such a great variety now of canned beans available, and you know, you can definitely go through the process of dried, soaked, cooked. It takes a lot longer, but with the canned beans, you know, open, drain, rinse, and they're good to go. So for today, we're going to be using some black bean. I have some navy beans, and I also wanted to jump to the freezer to see what they had, and we grabbed some edamame as well. So I'm going to start adding these awesome legumes.
So here's where you're getting your, like I mentioned, your protein, your high fiber, and the protein is really important, especially when you're exhausted. You know, you need that energy to, again, you're caring for someone else, you need to care for yourself too, and having a lean protein such as beans is a great idea. So Jeremy, you know, has a mix, and everybody differs as which beans they love. You could have black beans, kidney beans, chickpeas. But I wanted to discuss edamames because they are a great source of phytonutrients that are very, very high in phytonutrients and antioxidants. And, you know, I know that there's been a lot of controversy because it is a soy-based plant food, which back in the day, there was quite a bit of debate as to whether this was okay because of the increase in estrogen or the look that the estrogen had of the molecule. But today we know through research that soy-based foods are very important, they are healthy, and they actually could have a protective effect against cancers. So this is why we really want to, we see that the potential benefits outweigh those potential risks. And so, you know, having soy-based foods such as edamame, also included in this could be tofu, tempeh, miso, soy milk. These are things that you definitely want to include in moderation. Of course, anything of a good thing is not great. So having 2 servings a day, right? So you can have 3/4 of a cup of edamame, and then later on in the day, have a cup of soy milk. Okay, so just again, as a way to incorporate more variety, something that's easy. And like Jeremy said, you know, yes, it's frozen, those edamames, but they are just as nutritious as fresh. Make them your friend. You don't have to do anything to them because they're already pre-washed. And basically the process of freezing them locks in those nutrients. So, and they're also high in fiber. So for people who, you know, are trying to manage their weight as well, this is a really great source because it's actually helping to keep you full for longer.
Yes, yeah, great point. And so I mixed it together, and what we also added were some other canned, you know, quick pantry produce items that we could get. So we added some artichokes, some canned artichokes, which are a great, you know, option that you can add to bump up a salad or a dish. But this could also be canned green beans, they have canned carrots, canned mushrooms, right?
Corn.
Corn, yeah. I mean, look, there's so many options out there, or frozen as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do want to emphasize that, you know, a salad doesn't have to be lettuce. I think a lot of us think that that's kind of the go-to, which for sure it can be included. But to make those salads more hearty, using beans is a great option. Now, I will preface this by saying that if you know, you don't want to be in the kitchen for hours and hours, and you know, you want to decrease the cooking time. So making something that's nutritious for yourself, but also is beneficial to the person you're caring for. generally speaking, if the person you're caring for, is experiencing low appetite or fatigue, their diet can be a variety of different things. However, with any GI issues like diarrhea, beans might not be the best thing on the menu. So just something to take note of, so that, when you are thinking about this type of thing. However, what Jeremy said is, opening a can of beans is super easy. You can definitely, make that for yourself, but perhaps have, a plate of pasta, to incorporate some of the other flavors and things so that it would be a little bit less fibrous for those who have GI issues.
Yeah, so we pretty much have our dish done. We started with this really nice flavorful vinaigrette, added some beans of choice, some artichokes, the canned item, and then we can finish that off with another punch of flavor. And so what I have here is just some fresh herbs, right? You can definitely add dried herbs to this as well. But if, when they're available, especially in the summertime, you can mix this up. You can add cilantro, parsley, basil, mint. And so what I'm going to do is add actually a really nice handful. With dried, you can go probably about a third less, because they're much more intense. But with the fresh herbs, I'm going to not be shy and give it quite a bit. That is a measure of, what do we say, like maybe a handful, a good handful, official measure. And we're going to toss that through. So again, we've taken like a couple of these really easy, we call this like assembly cooking, where, we don't have to turn on a stove or an oven, and we're just opening up a few cans and ingredients and putting them together. And maybe there's a little bit of prep work if we want to chop up the herbs or like grate tomato, but again, just very minimal. And we're going to mix this together, and that is it. We have this super fresh salad, which I'll plate, but and I made a really big batch. And it's also important to keep in mind that something like this would freeze really well, and you can store this really well. And so, we're talking about sort of cooking, easy, also thinking of that meal planning and what can we do in larger batches to set us up for those days where we don't have the energy, don't have the time to prepare a meal. So this here, you can portion this off, put it in a freezer bag, put it in like little muffin tins, freeze little portions, and then, you can either defrost them, heat them up, eat them as is, or even add that to like a soup or add that to a chili, right?
I
so
love
you've done
that.
that work.
Yeah, adding that, like taking what you've already had and adding it to something else. So kind of like using your leftovers in a different way. So yeah, putting it in a soup, using it in a chili, putting it in freezer bags or Tupperware, and having it as that grab and go, whether you eat it or incorporate it into something else later, is great. Looks super, super yummy.
There we go. I'm trying to line it up with that camera, but there we have it. Yeah, really nice mixed bean salad with a tomato vinaigrette. All right.